He told me to get out and never come back. I walked away with one suitcase, a dying car, and $200 in my account. I didn't know it then, but that night was the beginning of everything that would change my life. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood in Denver, Colorado. Our house wasn't big or fancy, just 4 bedrooms, blue siding that needed repainting, and a small yard where my brother and I used to play. But to my father, it was never enough. He was a man obsessed with appearances, the kind who compared everyone, competed with everyone, and made sure we knew that failure was not an option. He worked as a sales manager, good, but not great, and he carried that bitterness home every night like a second briefcase. He'd come through the door, loosen his tie, and start finding faults. The house wasn't clean enough. Dinner wasn't ready on time. My grades weren't perfect enough. If I scored a 98%, he'd ask what happened to the other 2 points. That was the rhythm of my childhood. Love that had to be earned and approval that never came. My mother, gentle and artistic, used to be an art teacher before she married him. But she gave it up when my brother was born because a Blackwood wife doesn't work. I watched her light fade over the years, her laughter growing quieter until it was mostly gone. She was kind but scared, always trying to keep the peace between us and my father. My brother was his pride and joy, football captain, the golden child who did everything right. I was the odd one out. I didn't care about sports or socializing. I loved computers. At 12, my grandmother, my mom's mom, gave me a refurbished laptop for my birthday. Dad called it a distraction from real studies. But Grandma just smiled and said, "Let her build her world." That laptop became my escape. I learned to code late into the night, HTML, JavaScript, Python. While other kids watched movies, I built websites and small apps. It was the only place where logic made sense, and I wasn't being judged. When I turned 16, I created my first real app, a study notes organizer. My classmates loved it. I showed it at dinner, excited for once to share something I was proud of. My mom smiled, my brother shrugged, and my dad didn't even look up from his plate. "Is this why your chemistry grade dropped to an A-?" he asked. Minutes later, the doorbell rang. A delivery guy brought my brother's football trophy. My dad jumped up cheering and taking photos. My birthday cake sat untouched on the table. That night, I promised myself that someday I'd build something he couldn't ignore. I worked through high school, tutoring, babysitting, building websites, saving every dollar. My grandmother passed away that year, leaving me $10,000 and a note that said, "Build something wonderful. Don't let anyone clip your wings." When UCLA offered me a scholarship for computer science, I was ecstatic. My dad wasn't. "Computer science? You should be in business school," he said. "Blackwoods are leaders, not tech support." I told him I wanted to build things. He told me I was ruining my future. I went anyway. College was freedom. For the first time, I could breathe. I worked part-time at the IT help desk and built small apps for local businesses to pay rent. My roommate Tara became my closest friend. Bright, funny, and endlessly supportive. Together, we created an app called Food Saver, connecting restaurants with extra food to college students on a budget. We poured our hearts into it. It wasn't perfect, but it mattered. When I showed it to my family during Thanksgiving break, my dad smirked. "So it's a coupon app?" he said. "No," I explained. "It helps reduce food waste and saves restaurants money." He waved it off. "Thousands of apps launch every day. Most fail. This is why I wanted you in business school." I returned to California early, vowing never to share my dreams with him again until I succeeded. Food Saver eventually failed, but it became my crash course in business. I learned more from that failure than from any class. After graduation, the economy crashed. My job offers disappeared. I had no choice but to move back home temporarily. It felt like a step backward. Dad treated me like I was 16 again. Curfews, chores, lectures about real jobs. I bit my tongue and saved money quietly while developing a small idea on the side. A simple security app for small businesses that couldn't afford expensive software. One night, after staying late at work to fix a bug, I came home around 9. My dad was waiting. "Your mother kept dinner waiting for an hour," he said. I texted her I'd be late, I replied. "I had an issue at work." "At your real job or your imaginary company?" Something inside me snapped. "My app already has investor interest," I said. He laughed. "Investors? You're wasting your education. Your brother's already in management while you're playing with computers." "I'm not Jason," I said. "I'm not you either." That's when he said it. Slowly, clearly. "If you're so independent, then prove it. Get out, and don't come back." My mom begged him to stop. My brother stood frozen. But I knew he meant it. So I packed one suitcase, laptop, essentials, documents, and left. It was past midnight when I sat in my old car, hands shaking. I had $230 in my checking account. 6 blocks later, my car broke down. I laughed through tears. Of course. That night, I called Tara. She sent me money for a plane ticket back to Los Angeles. I slept in a cheap motel near the airport, crying until there were no tears left. By morning, I was done crying. I opened my laptop and started applying for jobs. Tara picked me up from LAX, hugged me so tight I could barely breathe, and said, "You're staying with me until you figure it out." Her tiny apartment became my safe zone. I slept on an air mattress that deflated every night, but I was grateful just to have a roof. Within a week, my old professor connected me with a cybersecurity startup. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a start. I worked all day there and all night on my app. I called it Shield Key, a simple interface with powerful encryption, security made easy for small businesses. Months later, I met Adrian at a tech meetup. He was a UX designer who understood how to make software intuitive. We decided to team up, 50-50. It was a struggle. Investors turned us down. We heard every rejection possible. Too early, too small, come back when you have users. But we kept building. Finally, one investor, a woman named Patricia, saw potential. She invested $150,000. It wasn't much, but it was everything. I cried that night on my bedroom floor, realizing I was no longer dependent on anyone's approval. 18 months later, Shield Key had 300 paying customers, then 2,000, then 10,000. A tech blogger wrote about us, calling it the security solution small businesses have been waiting for. The article went viral. Suddenly, we had meetings with major companies. When the first acquisition offer came, $2 million from a big security firm, I almost couldn't believe it, but we said no. We knew our worth. A year later, we hit $10 million in annual revenue. Then came the real offer, from a giant named Privacy Guard. $75 million after taxes, investors, and splits. I walked away with a little over $30 million. 3 years earlier, I'd been kicked out with 200 now. I was signing the deed to a glass and steel mansion overlooking the Pacific Ocean. I remember standing on the balcony, watching the sunrise and whispering, "You did it." But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like peace. At first, wealth was disorienting. I hired a housekeeper and an assistant, but didn't know what to do with all the space. I'd spent so long surviving that I didn't know how to just be. Then, one day, an email popped up. Subject: "Congratulations, from Dad." The message: "Your mother showed me the article about your company. Impressive accomplishment. Let's reconnect next time you're in Denver. Dad." No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a message that somehow still demanded something from me. I didn't reply for days. Then I sent a short note back. "Thank you. I'll be in Denver next month for a conference. We can meet for dinner." Dinner was awkward. He looked older, smaller. He smiled like nothing had happened. "Your company's acquisition was quite an achievement," he said. $75 million, right? I always knew you had my drive." For a moment I couldn't breathe. He was rewriting history, as if the years of cruelty had been tough love that worked. "I succeeded despite what you said, not because of it," I told him quietly. "You told me to get out and stay out, and I did. But I built something on my own." He stiffened. "I just wanted you to be prepared for the real world." "No," I said. "You wanted control. I just wanted peace." I thanked him for dinner and walked out. Outside, I cried, not from anger but from release. It was over. I no longer needed his approval. Back in Malibu, I started therapy. I learned that success doesn't heal rejection. Money doesn't erase old wounds. But self-forgiveness can. I founded the Blackwood Foundation, using part of my fortune to help young women in tech. I wanted to be the voice I never had. The person who says, "You can do it, even if no one believes in you." My mom eventually visited me in Malibu. She cried when she saw my home. "I always knew you'd do something special," she said softly. For the first time, I believed her. My brother and I rebuilt our relationship too. He left our father's corporate world and started his own sustainable business. We stopped competing and started supporting each other. Dad and I, we never fully reconciled, but we reached something close to peace. He sends occasional emails, articles about my work. It's his way of saying he's proud. It's enough. 5 years have passed since that night. I've built another company now, one that brings cybersecurity education to schools and nonprofits. I've found love, balance, and meaning. But sometimes, When I stand on my balcony and watch the ocean shimmer under the morning sun, I think back to that night when he told me to get out. I remember the pain, the fear, the emptiness. And then I remember the feeling of the first sunrise in Malibu, the moment I realized I'd never need his approval again. If you've ever been rejected by the people who should have loved you most, tell me this: did it destroy you or did it finally set you free?